Good afternoon. It's been quite a while since I've done one of these, and I thought I'd probably never do one again. But having seen the mess that our beloved Newport County are presently in, I thought I would, rather than spend hours banging away at a keyboard, and my typing skills are like my footballing skills, almost non-existent. I decided that I just have a bit of a rant where you can see me in person. Don't bother to subscribe, don't bother to like or dislike unless you particularly want to. I think that's what's normally said at the beginning of these types of things. It would really help us if you subscribed. Well, doesn't really help me at all. So let's move on a little bit. Three things, three basic headings that I'm going to talk about. Firstly, how did we get into the mess? How bad is the mess? And what, if anything, can we do to get out of it? There is a film, British war film, I think from the 1960s, maybe the 1950s, called Cockleshell Heroes. And Joseph Ferrer plays the leader of a group of men who are going to carry out an assault on the German positions on the French coast. Trevor Howard plays the soldier second in command, as it were. And the training goes very badly wrong, and the character played by Jose Ferrer says, "What did I do wrong? Very well, tell me, what did I do wrong?" And his second in command says, "Well, just about everything." And I think in fairness, the same can be said of Newport County over the last, getting on for 30 years now. Getting on for 40 years. We got very lucky that a multi-millionaire with too much time on his hands and too little of the grey matter between his ears financed us to get back into the league, and we have on a number of occasions in the 12 years since we've been back flirted with relegation, and it has to be said that it is now looking if not certain, and it's clearly not certain. I mean, we're not in the relegation zone at the moment. It is not yet October. But I think most supporters are looking at it and thinking this really could be it this time. And the other cause, I think, for real gloom is that not just the thought of being relegated. I mean, teams get relegated. It's that if we get relegated, we're done for. And that really is our major problem. Carlisle were relegated. Now, Notts County have been relegated. Luton Town have been relegated. Any number of teams have gone down, and you think, yes, they'll come back up. And some other teams have gone down, and they've stayed there a long time, but you've always thought they'd get back up in the end. And yet it seems to be that the thoughts are with ourselves, that if we were to go down, the game would be up. And that really shows what is the heart of the problem, is that we've never ever put down roots. In the years since Reformation, which is now, as I say, getting on for 40 years, we have played at Moreton-the-Marsh, Somerton Park, Gloucester, Spitty, Rodney Parade, Ninian Park even, not Ninian Park, I beg your pardon, the Cardiff City Stadium. Show my age there a little bit. In terms, 6 grounds. And that's just not putting down right roots, is it? Now, I know I've been on a lot of the time about the fact that we've never developed a stadium. And we should have done. And the best time to have done that was back in 1988, because it was, I think, fairly clear pretty early on that we were going to be shafted by the council. who were eyeing up Somerton Park to sell and promised a wonderful stadium, and let's be honest, Spitty, it simply wasn't suitable. In fact, I think it was I know it was in 2012 that David Hando said, giving kudos to Howard Greenath, and rightly so in a way, and he said we would never have got back into the Football League playing at Spitty. So, which then begged the question, well, why didn't somebody say that back in the early 1990s, when we all knew that it simply wasn't a ground that was fit or capable of being made fit for playing in the Football League. That was the first mess that we allowed ourselves simply to carry on, go from day to day, season to season, never really getting anywhere. And we found ourselves stuck in what was in effect Division 6, Tier 6. And then we had enormous strokes of luck. We won promotion to the National Conference, whatever it was called then, really on the back of the demise of Team Bath, who were fairly local to Newport, and a lot of their players, Gary Warren being probably the most notable, joining Newport County all at the right time, and we were promoted to the conference. We struggled. The first season we did okay. We struggled after that until we moved to Rodney Parade. And at that point, Les Scadding came in. I think the way that we treated Les Scadding was appalling. We didn't really, the club or people at the club tried to screw every penny they could out of him. We know that, I know he's idolised now, and it's not right, I suppose, in one sense, to speak of people who are not in a position to defend themselves. I don't particularly blame Justin Edinburgh for this. He was looking after himself, but he exploited his fame as a professional footballer for his own ends with Les Scadding. People involved with the club, we had directors of football, physiotherapists, all manner of people brought in. What we didn't do was put down any roots. A lot of people rode the Scadding gravy train. But he got us into the league, but when he pulled out, it soon became obvious we were in just a total mess again. There were no roots, there was no development. And as has happened on many occasions in the past, just excuse me a moment, I need my shot of caffeine. As happened on many occasions in the past, it was the long-suffering supporters who came in, bought the club, put their money in, and for a little while that seemed to be a solution. Indeed, it was, and I have tremendous admiration for all of the people who put their time and their money into the club. And what happened was an absolute disgrace. I don't know whether there was anything nefarious going on, or whether it was just simply a total inept cock-up on the part of the people who were running the club. I suspect the latter, but I don't know. What I do know is that supporters were lied to. Year after year, every club in the Football League was losing money, apart from Newport County, who were defying all economic logic and were making a profit season after season after season. We were doing brilliantly. And then all of a sudden, in March, a few years back, Mr. Ward, Mr. Foxall suddenly disappear. It had nothing to do with anything going wrong in the background. And then 2 months later, oh, we're broke, we're about to go bust, and we have to give the club away. And please, give it to Mr. Jenkins, he's the man for us. Now, I'm not blaming Hugh Jenkins if he took advantage of us, because frankly, if we had, as a group of supporters, anything about us, we would have said, hang on a second, let's hear everything that's on the table, let's hear exactly what is being offered by everybody, and let us vote. And if the board of directors of Newport County wish to say, we would like you to support so-and-so, that's fair enough. But they didn't do that, did they? What they did was they said, it's Jenkins or nothing. Now, I don't know John Pratt, I don't know. People I know and respect tell me he is a genuine supporter, that he does have the funds available. I don't, other people I know and respect tell me that he's not dishonest in any way, but he might not be quite what he appears to be. By that he doesn't have the funds. I simply don't know. Neither do you, neither does anybody. But really, what should have happened at that time was everything should have been put in front of all the supporters of the club, and certainly the owners of the club, the shareholders of the club, whatever, and they should have been allowed, or we should have been allowed, I should say, to have chosen for ourselves. Heard presentations from Mr. Pratt, heard presentations from Mr. Jenkins. That didn't happen. Instead, we had Hugh Jenkins foisted upon us. Now, I don't blame Hugh Jenkins. Hugh Jenkins is a man from Swansea. He has an interest in football, and he also has an interest in making money. And when Newport County were taken over by Hugh Jenkins, his plan was very, very clear. I'm not going to put massive amounts of money in. I will run the club on a sustainable basis, and I am going to look for bargains in Welsh football, of which I have a great deal of knowledge, and we will become a selling club and build on that and build on success. And indeed, we can see that with the Will Evans transfer, who I know was at Newport County beforehand, but he was just sold on at a very large profit, I have no doubt. There was the Manchester United money, which must have come to a fair bob or two. Yet now we find ourselves, we're told we have the too small a budget, we don't have the money, so on and so forth. And you do have to ask yourselves this, well, while the gates of Newport County are disappointing, and they are incredibly disappointing for a city the size of Newport, if you just go on Wikipedia and look at the size of the towns that are supporting League Two sides, and you'll find that Newport is one of the really big ones. So our crowds are very disappointing, but they're considerably more than clubs like Accrington, and clubs like Chelmsford, Cheltenham rather, and if they somehow can avoid going into this economic meltdown, why can't we? And I think there is a very straightforward answer to that. And I do agree with points that are being raised by High and Wide and Taunton Ironsider and so on, that a lot of the things behind the scene are run badly with in terms of commercial enterprise, that we don't sell ourselves as a club at all. But the big earner for a lot of football clubs, if you've got your own stadium, firstly, you're not then forking out a fortune in rent. But secondly, that stadium can be used for other purposes. And I've heard this, which said to me on a number of occasions, this utter nonsense about, oh, it's better to rent. No, it isn't. It is never better to rent, whether you're an individual thinking about renting or buying a house, a football club thinking of renting or having their own stadium. It makes no difference. Ownership is always better than renting by a considerable margin, because every penny that Newport County have paid in rent to the owners, whoever they may be, of Rodney Parade is money that is gone forever. It is money that could have been invested in the club. Now, a false point which was raised by a few people. I say it's a false point, it's a perfectly reasonable point to make, but one that I think is fundamentally incorrect, is they've said, oh yeah, but look at Rushden and Diamonds, look at Darlington. They had really nice stadiums and look what happened to them. But this is the nuanced position that I would take. Having a good stadium does not ensure success, but not having a suitable stadium and one in which you have a proprietary interest in does rather make failure certain. So there we are. That we have too low a budget is simply because far too much of our money is being spent on things that do us no good at all. And there is another point that really arises out of this, and that is the development of a stadium. Just think about this. There are two restaurants. Oh, let's make them pubs, it's easier. There are two pubs that you've got a choice of going to. The one pub has got really comfortable chairs, beautiful log fire, brasses on the walls, really friendly atmosphere, wonderful ambience. The beer, it's okay. Now the other pub, there's beer splashed on the floor. Nobody ever bothers to wipe down the tables. The seats are plastic. The decor is awful. The lighting is too bright. But the beer is great. They really know how to serve and keep a pint of beer. Which one are you going to go to? You are going to go to the one with the ambience. Restaurants that succeed and restaurants that fail has very little to do with the food or the quality of the food. It is all to do with the ambience. People will go and watch a football match in a comfortable stadium much more than they will go and watch a football match in, well, for instance, the worst that I think most of us will recall, that wind tunnel at Spitty. And a failure to address that. And I said when Hugh Jenkins took over, because I didn't know what he was going to be like, and excuse me just a moment, pour a little bit more coffee and take another swig. I didn't know when he took over what he was going to be like, but I did say, if he acknowledges the fact that we need to develop a stadium, and it may take time and there may be setbacks, then he would do something that nobody has done since 1988. And he's not done it. Now, I don't blame him, because he's not in it for Newport County, he's in it for Hugh Jenkins. If he's successful, the best way he can be successful is for Newport County to be successful. So he's not going to try and sabotage the club, but what he's not going to do is take a risk with any investment. My view is that we have just hung-strung ourselves. We've made life more difficult, far more difficult than it need to be, because there was never any forward planning. Anybody who tried to suggest, because I remember a couple of years back we had a stadium discussion group, and they went along to see Gavin Foxall, and Gavin Foxall killed the idea stone dead, as I knew he would, because the day-to-day running of the club and what we need to do as a club long-term don't always, in fact very often, don't mesh into each other. If you've got a choice between developing a stadium or buying a side, buying a couple of really good players and paying them high wages so you can make a dash at promotion, you're going to choose the latter. But the long term, in the long term, you are far better off, as I say, developing a stadium, which is part of, the major part, not the only part, of putting down roots. And we didn't do it. Now, the best time to have started doing it was, of course, 1988. And it can be done. I mean, people will always come up with the reasons why it can't be, but you have to ask yourself, how has every other, not every, but virtually every other town or city of the size of Newport managed to develop a stadium for its primary football club? And towns and cities far smaller than Newport have managed to do it. Is there any reason that any of you can think of why Newport is somehow different from anybody else? Because we're not. You know, this Brian Harris, and I remember Brian Harris, you know, the Brian Harris, the men of Newport are only interested in birds, booze and bookies, or whatever it was. No, the people of Newport are no different from the people of anywhere else. I love Newport, it's my hometown. You know, I was born a Newportonian, I will die a Newportonian, even here in the west of Ireland. Even though when it comes to nationality, I am both Welsh and Irish. But when it comes, you know, but I am 100% Newport. When Newport Rugby are playing Connacht, I'll support Newport because I'm a Newportonian first and foremost, and it is. I want us to succeed, and I genuinely don't think we can succeed until we get rid of this, oh, poor little Newport, or we are this, or we are that, or we find excuses. Well, we've got to stop doing that. Now, that's easier said than done, of course it is. Do I think that we are going to be relegated this season? Yes, I do. Because I don't think we can keep on relying on two teams every year being worse than us. We're the only club from our first season back in the Football League, which wasn't all that long ago, from our first season back in the Football League, who have played every season at League Two level. Everybody else, there are quite a few have gone up and come back, or gone down and come back, but we're the only ones that have stayed there. And if we can't go up, the idea that we will never be relegated is for the birds. So I think this season is the season we'll be relegated. Does it need to be the end of the world? Not necessarily. But I do think that we have to sit down and have a serious conversation with whoever it is that is running Newport County, whoever are the supporters, groups, and say, you know, what are we going to do? Now, my ideas would be this. First of all, we need to look at whether we want to develop a stadium by ourselves or whether we want to work in conjunction with the rugby. My preferred solution would be to work in conjunction with the rugby. We are in competition for the disposable income of people who go to football matches in Newport. But that doesn't mean to say that we can't cooperate where it's for our mutual benefit. But there's no point, if you're going to have a master-servant relationship, you don't want to be the servant. And it would have to be done on the basis, now perhaps Newport County would need to take a mortgage or to take a loan from the local council or the Welsh Government or whatever the grants are to buy a share in Rodney Parade. I think that's possible. I think that's something that should be discussed. Failing that, I think that we should look at developing a stadium of our own. And now we keep on saying, well, where are you going to put it? For goodness sake. The idea that you can't find an area within the city limits of Newport where you can build a stadium is nonsensical. It's just nonsense. And there we are. You can look at, there are plenty of areas in Newport, and many which could do with redevelopment, let's be honest about it. So that would be my, as I say, the preferred option. We do know that, now I don't go on county chat, I'm pleased that all the vitriol seems to have gone there. And if people want to be vitriolic with one another, that's fair enough. But I do pick up what is being said, and I am aware that it is being said that John Pratt is interested, or still interested, and is looking to invest. I am also told that by people who know him, who say he is a trustworthy person. As I say, I don't know him. But I do think, if that is the case, that he really does need to come out and say, well, look here, this is the position, here are the finances I have, this is what I am prepared to do, and if Hugh Jenkins is prepared to walk away, I will come in. If Hugh Jenkins has a better idea, then that's fair enough. If he wishes to resist it, there's nothing we can do about it. But I do think that if we don't understand that the supporters of a professional football club actually do have a great deal of power. If we stop going, Newport County cease to be a vehicle that Hugh Jenkins can utilise for his own benefit. And now I'm not suggesting that that is necessarily something that should happen. It may well be that Hugh Jenkins is the best person to have charge of Newport County, but I really do think we need to have this open discussion now. We gifted him the club. He's not, as far as I can see, taken any financial risks himself, and he, in my view, the supporters not only have, whether we have the right or not, we certainly have the ability to make him accountable. But we have to act as one, not as, and it doesn't have to be in an accusatorial way. We don't have to say, we demand this, we demand that. Simply that as supporters of Newport County, because we will be here long after every player has gone. I've seen so many chairmen of Newport County over the last 60 years, so many players, but supporters tend to remain supporters until they die. And I do also think that we need to take a step back when it comes to criticism of Mr. Pratt. I think he should, as I say, I think he should come out into the open if he's being serious. But what I also think, it's unfair, as some have said on one of the two message boards, well, he didn't put any money in when he could have done. He's not putting any money in now. Well, I wouldn't put any money in now. I wouldn't put any money in almost immediately after I saw the people who were running Newport County as a trust. And indeed, why should John Pratt put in money now to aid Mr. Jenkins? He can do it to aid Newport County, but not to aid Mr. Jenkins. And it is something, looking back, that I feel very angry about. Now, people who chose to put their money into the club when Newport County was being run with a trust, as I say, I have an enormous amount of admiration for them. But let's just pause for a moment. Maybe somebody bought a couple of £100 worth of shares in the trust, and maybe they paid their £10 a month and contributed to various schemes here and there. But £10 a month is, what, £120 a year? Over 5 years, we're talking £600. And then you buy a couple of £100 worth of shares, you contribute to various other matters, and that comes to a tidy sum. And there will be people who, over the last 5, 6, 7 years or whatever, trust members, who will have put well over £1,000 into the club, thinking they were helping the club, and they were lied to. And I don't think that to be critical of people like Mr. Pratt, who weren't prepared to put money in at that time because they could see very well where what was happening. Well, certainly I could. I think is somewhat unfair. But I do think the time has come for all of us who want our club to succeed. Really do need to start having serious conversations and to accept a certain reality, and that is we are probably going to get relegated this season, and the model of how Newport County is being run, because of these, in some cases, self-imposed restrictions on ourselves, mean that we really are going to struggle to get back into the Football League. And for, as I say, for a city the size of Newport, not having a Football League club is utterly, utterly ridiculous. But having said that, I do think that there is a likelihood that we are going to get relegated. And I also think that if that is the case, we may very well want to reassess and think about developing ourselves as a club, putting down roots so that at some stage in the future, probably at a time when I will be long gone, I'm pushing 70, so it may be if we go out of the league, I will never see Newport County after this season play another league game. But there is no reason at all, because while I say that the best time to have developed a stadium was back in 1988, the second best time to start thinking about it, start doing something about it, is tomorrow. Now, there's one other little point that I wanted to bring up, and I know unsolicited advice to anybody is very often unwelcome, so if the person involved, and I say this is no criticism of that person, wishes to say, sod off and mind your own business, he is perfectly entitled to do so. While it's extremely unlikely to work, I am aware that up the port, Jim, on the other board, as I always refer to it, buys lottery tickets in the hope that there will be a massive win, and if that happens, I'm sure that half of £120 million or whatever is the jackpot prize would solve all of Newport County's problems overnight. And I make no criticism of the fact it's extremely unlikely to happen, because at least it's a plan, at least it's something that could work, although, as I say, very, very unlikely. But that's not the bit of advice that I do want to impart. It's simply this. I've noticed the ad hoc way it's done. Now, there are two things, and I'll deal with the more likely one first. While it is still extremely unlikely, it is not beyond the bounds of possibility that a significant prize will be won. Let's say £50,000 or whatever. When it comes to money, people will row and have arguments over tiny sums of money. If, let's say, the £50,000 were won, there will be people saying, well, look, I contributed enough money for 4 tickets, while so-and-so only contributed enough money for 1. Shouldn't I get 4 times as much as him? And there'll be somebody else, well, look, I've bought tickets every single time for the last 5 years, but I just happened to be on holiday this week when the winning numbers came up. Shouldn't I get something? And the rows that will then take place, and you can be sure there'll be some ambulance chasing lawyers who will be filling their boots when that happens. In the far more unlikely event that a massive prize is won, just multiply that complication by 1,000 or 100,000 or whatever it is, because rows over money happen all the time. And what I would suggest, and it's entirely a matter for yourself, and I go no further, but what might be an idea, if you're going to have a syndicate like this, write down exactly the criteria. Everybody that that contributes then knows what it is. Now, it doesn't really matter if you say to people you don't pay on a particular week, you get nothing. It doesn't matter if you say if you give enough for 4 tickets, you get 4 times as much as a person who just buys one, or you say you all get the same. It doesn't matter. What does matter is you have the criteria written down. Now, it's probably not going to matter anyway, but I would hate to see somebody who is making a genuine effort to do something. It's not something that I would personally do, but that's entirely subjective. But I would suggest that you get it all down on a basis which can't be argued with. It doesn't matter what the basis is, but you want it there in writing. Doing it on a ad hoc basis is asking for problems. Well, there we are. I've prattled on for the best part of 36 minutes. In fact, more than 36 minutes. So I hope you all have a good day. I will put this up, and I'd be interested in any comments that any of you might have. For now, all the very best.